welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the story behind the story. I'm your host, Dr. A. Truott. It's time to listen to the doctor. You got a treat in store today, ladies and gentlemen. You have Dr. Dean Lloyd will be coming on. We'll be discussing a very important, basically important subject today. That is the life and the living, the lifeblood of something we really take for granted each and every day, the very water we drink. The water on this planet is the difference between death and the dying and life and the living, folks. Yet, I submit, we take this most precious commodity for granted each and every day. We can't do that. We have to honor water. We have to learn about water, and we have to make right and wise decisions concerning the water we put in to our body. These, I've had, as you know, on the show, Dr. Mike Castle. He wasn't on with us Monday. I got to tell you, he's having some financial difficulties making ends meet, like everybody else across America. So he's hit the road. He's on the road working. He expressed his sorrow for not coming on the show, and yet, he'll be back. He'll be back. He's just trying to tie up some loose ends. But Dr. Mike Castle has really been one of the leaders, as you know, folks, in exposing this madness called chemtrails. And just recently, of course, we've documented the chemtrails have become much more omnipresent. They're especially in the populated areas of this country, along the west coast of California, and across the big metropolitan areas of America. You see more and more of these cropping up, and now we're seeing more and more people becoming ill, and as they go to their doctors to try and find answers, lo and behold, they're seeing 1,000 times more presence of barium, aluminum, and other heavy metals in their bodies. And, of course, we've been saying for years, we and especially Dr. Mike Castle and others have been showing that the chemical composition of chemtrails is barium oxides and aluminum oxides. Again, the whole purpose of this, folks, is not first and foremost to poison Americans. It's first and foremost to make the space-based weapon system of the Air Force and of NASA to become much more effective. And they reasoned, well, they need this for the protection of America. That's a falsehood. We really don't. What we really need is truth and honesty to come back in and replace secret societies and secret dealings in the military and our government. That's what keeps America safe, is honesty and transparency, not death and murder. The reason why I bring this up, folks, is simply because the fallout from chemtrails, the fallout is that these heavy metals become part of the precipitation of snow and rain as low-pressure masses form. These composite elements form into the water, which goes into the aquifers and goes into the tap water, the safe. The government wants you to believe that your drinking water is safe because it hasn't been shut down. It just measures safe from bacteria such as E. coli, from other things. Folks, they're just not testing for elevated levels of barium. They're not testing for aluminum structures. They're not, for heaven's sakes, many municipalities across this country are even thinking it's wise to add a toxic poison, sodium fluoride, into the water. Sodium fluoride has an affinity and binds to aluminum and barium. So areas that have sodium fluoride, you can take it to the bank. You're going to have much higher levels of fallout from barium and aluminum in your water supply. We're going to talk about today with my guest, Dr. Dean Lloyd, solutions for this problem, how to get these heavy metals out of the water you drink. And this is how you can make sure that you can keep these toxic elements from accumulating in your body and causing you some real major problems health-wise. Dr. Dean Lloyd joins us. He's a naturopath / acupuncturist, an incredibly gifted and intelligent gentleman from Colorado. He's been the guest on my show here, The Story Behind the Story, numerous times. He is very much awake. I don't think you would mind me saying as well, like Dr. Mike Castle, he is continuing to pay the price for his honesty, for his awakened eyes. It's not easy, as you know, folks, to take the road less traveled, to stand for the truth. It's quite common that those you love the most, or think you love the most, seem to abandon you in your fight. And so Dr. Dean is doing the best he can to work through this type of attack as well. But without further ado, let me introduce to you Dr. Dean Lloyd from Colorado. Dr. Lloyd, welcome to the show.
Hi, and thank you, True. Good to hear your voice again.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, barium and aluminum showing up in ever-increasing levels in the groundwater aquifers. The direct cause and effect is directly, again, from these tons of heavy metals that are being sprayed in these chemtrail structures. Now, as they come in, and this is all across the country, this doesn't matter if you're in a private well system or tapping into a large municipality culinary system, you need to understand first and foremost what dangers these things face in your body. So, Dr. Dean, what can you tell us about that information?
It comes down to what is in water and what is water, because we all know when we think we turn on the tap water, just a few things in it like chlorine and fluoride, maybe some sediment from the pipe, those won't hurt us. But we need to talk about what is water. And when we do, we have to realize it's not just water, but hydration in body fluid when it comes into us. A very particular thing is happening. It's a structure. It's micronutrients. It's in the cell, etc. But primarily, it's clean water we're talking about. It makes this body fluid in our body. We need to have clean water, or else if it comes in our body, it's rejected. So if we can clean and through purification systems, certain ways of doing this, clean the tap water that's coming out, we can make it so the cells in our body can make this body fluid. So the question we should be asking, should we be drinking bottled water, well water, tap water, distilled water, reverse osmosis water? In the case of distilled water, there's no charge to it. Therefore, the body wants to, in a way, suck in the water in the cell to make this body fluid. So we have to define, first of all, what is coming in our bodies. And that clarification can be done. You can do some research in what is in bottled water, but I won't drink it. I won't drink tap water. I won't drink water that even has been filtered through a carbon filter unless I'm really sure about it. And why are we so particular about this? Well, we need to know, like in the case of oxygen hydrotherapy, which is oxygen in water, we can talk about the changes that take place when the water, for instance, is spun in a fast way. The oxygen mixes in with it. And that's a good thing, because when that happens, it changes the electrical charge of that water, making it more, in a way, wet and more permeable to the cell. So what we want to do is quality water we're talking about here. And the water that's being, available, made available to people, for the most part, true, is not clean water. So the more permeable to the cell it is, the more that it goes in, and if that water has no minerals in it, like in distilled water, it's going to be sucked out, these minerals, and they'll be sucking out of you if you just drink distilled water. So therefore, we have to replenish the minerals in the body with organic substances, organic minerals, and something you're an expert on. Your organic.
Well, yeah, the key word, folks, is simply hydration, and hydration has to do with hydrogen ions being able to replenish and rebuild. Hydrogen is the most important single nutrient. Even though it's a gas, when it combines with oxygen, it forms this life-giving fluid, water. And our cells are very DNA structured. DNA is deoxy 2 oxygen, okay, nucleic acid. Acid is, in pure biological chemistry terms, merely structures of hydrogen. That's what an acidic structure is. An acid is hydrogen. The more hydrogen you have, the more acidic the substance becomes. Now, let me just jump in here, Dr. Dean. I've spent 20 years researching and experimenting and testing water structures and formulas on living things, and I got to tell you, there is such a bunch of baloney misinformation going out in the alternative nutritional field. It just blows my mind. People just don't have any basic understanding of water and water science. I got to say that just across the board. You have so many water charlatans out there hawking such things as ionizers and charge up the contaminants in your water stream, make it acidic, versus alkaline, and drink only the highly alkaline. I got to tell you, there's not a day goes by, Dr. Dean, that I don't receive multiple questions from people in my database, and we're talking worldwide, Dr. Dean. Worldwide, asking me, what about these ionizers? I just bought one. I just paid $2,000 or so for one. I think it's really great. What do you think about it? And I have to go and spend an hour or two explaining that they just got taken.
That's right. It's a hard thing to tell people when they have so much invested in these devices.
And it's ignorance. It's ignorance. Right. And so I invited Dr. Dean to come on the show and to discuss this very most important thing. Here is a simple formula, folks. Dr. Dean said it right, and he'll elaborate on it as we go forward. The water you should consume should be the purest water you can possibly find. Now, let's define purity. Purity just simply means a lack or a total lack, if possible, of something called totally dissolved solids. We're going to use a term for totally dissolved solids. It's called TDS. And Dr. Dean, it's a very simple thing, really. The lower the TDS count of water, whether it's bottled, whether it's reverse osmosis, filtered, what have you, the ratio is just simply this. The lower the TDS, the lower the total dissolved solid count, thus the purer the water becomes, the more hydrating it becomes, the more viable the presence of hydrogen, free hydrogen ions. Why is hydrogen such an important nutrient? It's simply because hydrogen breaks down the carbohydrates, okay? Carbon, hydrates, hydrogen in our food, the very life-giving energy of our food. It breaks down the proteins. It breaks it down to the point where